This is the Glatt Properties Podcast, Episode 6. I am your host, Bruce Gladhorn. Let's get into it, gang. Today's topic of discussion is going to be assuming the responsibility of the transaction. Now, this one is going to be focused more towards my realtors rather than my investors or people looking to get into the investment space or just starting out. This is more for the realtors or people that are looking to get into real estate as a profession, maybe a little side hustle. You represent your clients or the people in your sphere that you know. Let's get this going because this is a big one. This is one that I really find that I excel at, and I know I can speak on this. So taking on the work of others is not something that anybody wants to do, especially if you have a W-2 job, you work at an office or whatever. The last thing that you want to do is you want to take on Tommy Salami's work because he got stuck in Denver because of a snowstorm. Excuse me. That's the last thing that you want to do. But we've all been there, right? We've all had to take on other people's work. The answer to that is not what am I getting out of it. The answer is who is not working as hard as they should be, or the idea that we all have is who is not working as hard as they should be. Do we like taking on other people's work? Absolutely not. Nobody does. That would be a foolish thing to consider or think that that's a good idea. But it's necessary in the real estate space, especially in any profession where you are going to be representing somebody's interests, financial or other. So in order to actually do this the correct and proper way, the first thing that you have to do is look at your checklist. Do you have a checklist, a system down? If you're new, you should have it written down. Just every little checkpoint that you have to hit. It's a very simple process. Once you get that burned into your brain, it becomes second nature. But once you can narrow down your checklist, look at the other person's checklist or what you would be doing on the other side of the table. Don't be afraid to follow up with them and make sure that they did the proper thing. For example, one of the things that I screwed up on when I was a first even year agent is the first deal I ever did. First deal I ever did, I sold a home up the Poconos, and it was in a HOA. Big thing about HOAs is a resale certificate. So for those of you that don't know what a HOA is, they have an idea, whatever, it doesn't matter. We can discuss HOAs later. I have that planned. I have that right here on my list of things to talk about. Break down HOAs and how they work. But what you need for every transaction inside of an HOA, there has to be a thing called a resale certificate that has to be issued prior to closing, which basically allows the conveyance of property. It is not an optional document. It is 100% required. You need it. So Genius Bruce over here, let's just say he had no clue what a resale cert was, and about a week before closing, maybe 10 days, I got a call from the agent on the other side of the table that says, "Hey, did you order the resale cert?" Oof, that's a moment right there. Luckily, I was quick on my feet. I got the job done. I reached out. I called who I had to call. We closed on time. But man, I said to myself, "Oh, this is something I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life. A resale cert." So what happened there? Well, basically, the other agent assumed the responsibility of my job to remind me what it is that I needed to do, or even educate me. So by making sure that I was squared away, she made sure that her client was buying the home. And that's kind of what you have to see the answer to assuming the responsibility question is. Making sure everybody else is in line with doing what they have to do. Because at the end of the day, your job is to represent your clients to the best of your abilities. Would your clients want you to assume the responsibility of the other side of the table if you could? Well, the answer is yes. If you could assume that responsibility, it's your job to do that responsibility regardless of whatever unwritten industry profession rules there are. Are you the listing agent? Are you the buyer's agent? No. Are you an agent on the deal? Yeah, you are? Okay, great. Make sure that everybody's ducks are in order so that you can have a smooth, seamless transaction and so that you both can look like rock stars. That's what our job is to. Our job is to get on the phone and make sure people are doing what they need to be doing. If you do that at a minimum, if you call everybody on the transaction once a week, you're gonna be fine. Do I discuss buyers' lending situations with their lenders? No, but do I call the lender and say, hey, do we have any hurdles that we have to face? Is there anything that I should anticipate? Absolutely. What are you thinking about this? What are you thinking about that? I have to know this so that I can properly prepare and inform my client, the seller, so that I can prepare them mentally for possibly an issue. It's never an issue until it comes up. But you can't smack somebody in the face with a problem and just say, well, this is it. I don't know what to tell you, seller. This is just what happened. No, that's when they're going to know that you are inexperienced and that they made the wrong decision. You're never going to get a referral from them. But if you warn them in advance, they know that you're prepared and you're ready to take action when you need to do it. So that's assumption of responsibility, assuming the responsibility of the transaction. What does that evolve into? What does that equate to? Well, basically what it evolves into is two agents taking on the entire transaction, and then one deal getting done. Always, always, always ask yourself, how would you want your agent to represent you in this situation? And this particular section of this podcast is geared towards my millennial people. Let's just say this. Let's just be non-descriptive. If you, for a second, think that you can get into the real estate space, do the job, dump the transaction off to your transaction coordinator or your admin, ride into the sunset, and look like a king or a queen, you are absolutely wrong. My millennials, hear me when I say this. The world that we have been brought up in is not like the world most people here in this country were brought up in that can afford homes, okay? There's not a lot of millennials right now that can afford homes. Everybody that's older than millennials, probably about 35 and up, there's a higher chance that they can afford a tremendous home. If you are going to be working for somebody that has been buying and selling homes for the past 20, 30 years, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be willing to make up for your inexperience with your ability to work. That's very hard for a lot of my millennial colleagues. A lot of my millennial colleagues, they will give it a Google. They will hit them with the Google answer. Now, Google is a fantastic resource. It can really break down stuff for you, but there's a difference between Googling something and there's a difference between talking from examples. And that's why a lot of these things I try to talk to you from examples, because anybody can go and Google these topics that I'm talking about, find the generic answer, and then move forward successfully in that space, but never have an example of how to relate to somebody. I've never had to give more than 2 examples to a client to let them know I know what to do in this situation. Never had to give more than 2. And I always started off the same way. So my agents, listen to this. We got 1 or 2 ways that this can go. X, Y, and Z for this one, A, B, and C for that one. It gives them a range of options and possibilities to consider, much like when you present them with the price of their home. The price of your home is not $175,000. It's $165,000 to $190,000. Where do we want to be successful in here? And that's where we can, price the home at. So this is just a tip and trick for my millennial colleagues. My millennials that have been in the real estate game for more than 2 years, they know what I'm talking about. They know that they're not going to blow smoke. It's just never going to work. So I hope this one hit home for a lot of people. I hope a lot more agents in this industry assume more responsibility. That's really a pet peeve of mine. I really like working with an agent that can make sure that I'm doing what I'm doing, and because I can make sure that they're doing what they're doing, it makes for a better transaction all around, and everybody is happier. So all right, gang, enjoy your day. Stay safe.